Hi everyone, and welcome to the next episode of Iconic Insights by Icon Accounting. So today we are joined by Geraldine King, who is the CEO of the ERF. So she's here to tell us all the tricks when it comes to networking and her journey in the ERF too. Hi everyone, and welcome to the next episode of the Iconic Insights podcast by Icon Accounting. So today we have a very, very special guest. So we are joined by Geraldine King, which is the Chief Executive of the ERF. So welcome, Geraldine.
Thank you very much. Delighted to be here.
We're delighted to have you.
Yeah, thank you very much for taking the time out. We know how busy you are, so very much appreciated. We typically start, Ger, by going straight into some quickfire questions. The purpose of these quickfire questions is not to think about them too much.
Okay.
And just go with what comes to mind, okay?
Okay.
So I'll start them off with, if you could have dinner with anyone, who would it be?
Oh, Michelle Obama.
Okay.
Definitely. Yeah.
Good. Beach, vacation, or mountain retreat?
Oh God, beach all the way.
Yeah.
All the way. Lots of sunshine.
That was the easiest one so far then. If you could master any skill instantly, what would it be?
Skating.
Skating? Okay.
Tea or coffee?
Oh, both.
Yeah.
Both. Definitely both.
What's your
Different times
routine
of
on
day.
that?
Yeah.
Coffee first thing in the morning, probably about 3, and then after that, tea for the rest of the day.
Okay. Okay. It's the strategy for me. Do you know exactly which one when.
Yeah.
Sunrise or sunset?
Sunset.
Okay.
What's your dream car?
Oh, I have it. BMW.
Lovely. What was the last TV show you binge watched?
Oh, The Resident
Okay.
on Netflix.
Yeah.
I'm still watching it.
I'll have to watch it.
Binge watching it. It's fantastic.
What's your dream job?
I have it.
You're doing well.
And that's not a cliche. I actually have my dream job.
If you could speak any language fluently, which one would it be?
Spanish.
Spanish. Same as myself.
Sweet or savoury snacks?
Oh God. Sweet. We go sweet.
What dish do you cook best?
I cook a mean Irish stew.
Okay.
Oh.
A dinner for today as well with the weather out there. To be fair. You've got me hungry now already.
Do you think you could win a game show?
Absolutely.
Absolutely not.
You absolutely
No,
could win a game show.
absolutely not. I wouldn't win an argument.
Have you ever skydived and would you?
No, never.
And you wouldn't?
Never.
No?
No.
Go to karaoke song.
Oh, has to be. I Will Survive.
Yeah. Has that one ever come out at the Christmas party maybe?
Oh
for the
God,
year?
no. I'm on work duty those days.
We'll have to try and get it out somewhere. 100%. So that's our quick fire questions done.
Okay.
Absolutely sail through them. What we'd love to get now, if it's okay with you, Geraldine, is a little bit of a brief overview of your professional background and what led you to get involved in the ERF.
Okay, so initially I started off with an electronic training qualification. I worked in multinationals.
Okay.
I was the electronic debug and rework trainer. I worked in management. Then I moved to, in those days, training and HR were very much connected as one, not like they are now. So I had a really good interest in the whole HR psychology of people, how people work. So I did a master's in HR.
Excellent.
So then, as a trainer in an electronics company, I was constantly recruiting staff. So I used a lot of agencies.
Yeah.
So I was the client. Electronics pulled out of Ireland in 2002. And I went to a agency to get a job, and they gave me a job. So I managed 3 offices for Grafton Recruitment, who are not Grafton anymore, they're Staffline.
Yes.
And when I was 8 years with Grafton, I decided I would take a sabbatical of a few months. And by chance, I ended up in the ERF.
Okay.
So my job and journey to the ERF was to start as Director of Training, Education,
Okay.
to provide an education career path for the recruitment sector in Ireland. I'd already contributed to the first manual when I worked in Grafton. I had written a couple of the modules because in Grafton Recruitment, one of the board members was part of the training division in Grafton, and she asked me to do it for the South. So my my reign as Director of Education lasted for 2 months. And then I became the CEO. So
Fast track.
So,
Yeah.
fast track the whole way through. I had myself as the member of staff.
Okay.
Then I had a part-time administrator.
Okay.
And now, over the years, we have grown the ERF and we have 8 members of staff.
Incredible.
So,
Even listening to you talking about, you know, the training piece, like looking at what you guys have established now, obviously, in terms of the skill net piece and the partnerships there, and even the recruitment license in terms of that piece of skilling, and I suppose that.
the recruitment license is actually the law.
Okay.
So we as a country are legislated by law to have a recruitment license. There is a few countries around the world that are also the same as us. And you can't operate a recruitment business in Ireland unless you have a license to do so. And that comes from the WRC.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was actually referring to the qualification piece.
Oh,
that you
the
introduced.
certificate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is incredible as well.
So that was our first formal career programme. And that's the one that was written first. So that was written with myself and 3 or 4 members of the ERF, which was the NRF at the time. And we launched that in 2012. I am happy to say it is a huge success and it's brilliant. We don't just offer it to recruitment consultants within the recruitment agency land. We also offer it to talent acquisition
Within.
because recruitment is recruitment.
Yeah.
And you know, when we do something in relation to a career path for recruiters, we're encompassing the whole of TA, recruiters, HR professionals, whoever has an interest in talent, you know, is welcome to do any of our courses.
Which is unbelievable. Unbelievable. To say that you come in, 2 months later, you're the only person in the organisation. Now you have a team of 8 and so many more things happening.
Well, I think, you know, it's a tribute to a lot of really good people along the way. When, you know, as you know, we have voluntary boards and voluntary committees. And every single board, every president I have had has been an absolute support to everything that we've tried to do. We couldn't have done anything, especially in the early days when we had no staff. And now everything we do is a massive contribution and I suppose respect to the staff that we have. I have amazing staff.
Yeah,
they
incredible.
are so dedicated, so committed, so hardworking.
Yeah.
But most importantly, they're so passionate about what we do and what we have to deliver. And I take my hat off to them every single day.
To be honest, that shines through as well. As soon as you walk in the door of Santry, you can feel that energy, you can feel that optimism, and like you say, the pure passion for what they're doing.
Yeah,
like
and they're great friends.
And
That
that makes it all
the
the better.
culture is absolutely beautiful when you walk into our office, and everybody remarks on, and that's a tribute to all of them.
Yeah.
You know how they engage with each other, how they engage with customers and clients.
Yeah.
You know, they're just really, really fantastic people.
So
And they're all girls. Diversity and inclusion.
Coincidence, I think not, though, to be fair, in terms of what you've achieved. But it really does show then you actually are in your dream job at the moment.
I love what I do. I absolutely love what I do. I think when I took this job, and especially when I go back to the original job that I took, it was because I truly believe recruitment should have its own academic career path.
100%.
You know, in the early days, you could say, yes, it was part of the HR business unit. It's not anymore. It's a skill within its own right.
Yeah.
100%.
And deserves to have that recognition on the academic framework for both retention and attraction, you know, for employees.
Yeah.
And that's not just from junior consultants coming in. That's for leaders, managers. You know, we're currently working on, we have the degree, as you know, the apprenticeship degree. It's still the only one in the world. It gets us really good recognition around the world. I do a lot of speaking in different countries around what we have put in place here.
Yeah.
People are trying to emulate what we've done.
Excellent.
And now we have put our application through for the Masters. We're in conversation at the moment with the NAO.
Brilliant.
So we've started the ball rolling in that space. So fingers crossed, it's an easy journey to get it in.
A lot going on.
Yeah. Do you sleep anywhere between Monday and
As I
Sunday?
said, the staff do everything.
No, it is. It's incredible. It's incredible what you've achieved. But again, still not kind of resting on your laurels at all, still
No.
pushing and pushing and pushing
No,
for
no.
more.
And that's something that we do. We look at what does the sector need next.
Yeah.
Obviously the masters won't be the be all and end all. It will just be the icing on the cake.
Absolutely.
From a certificate to a degree to a master's, and then we've got the career path, that they are deserving of. It's a hard job to be a recruiter.
Yeah.
And listen, not only is it a hard job, Geraldine, but the contribution they make to the economy, in my opinion, is often massively overlooked.
Well, I think COVID was a factor there. The labour markets couldn't have worked without recruitment agencies during COVID.
100%.
I mean, and every country, and I'm lucky enough that I sit on the global board for the World Employment Confederation, which is the global federation for federations around the world. And to be able to see the way the countries rallied, the agencies in every country, especially in the healthcare sector,
Yeah.
it was absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And the way that recruiters react, oh my goodness, it was absolutely astounding.
Yeah, no, there was definitely a significant coming together, like you say, everyone, all hands on deck.
Yeah.
But again, what stands out to me is like we get some access, obviously, to people that are being relocated to Ireland. People think that's just a recruiter picking up the phone and saying, "Oh, we'd like to hire you." There's an awful lot more that comes into relocating someone to Ireland at this stage, given all of the external factors which we were kind of chatting about briefly before we started.
Absolutely. And if you think of it as well, like if you're not coming from an EU country, think of all the visa work that has to be done.
Yeah.
Think of all of the background checking. If you're going to be in the healthcare sector.
Yeah.
So does a recruiter doesn't just log in every morning to LinkedIn or into their own database and find somebody for a job. There's a lot of searching and a lot of checking to be done before that person gets a job, whether they're international or whether they're at home.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I think a lot of that conversation, though, goes back to, let's say, the topic at hand, and it's how to be a network ninja or networking ninja. And it's clear from your story that you've had support through the people and through your network. And then as well that you are, let's say, a queen of networking with speaking at events and everything. But I guess what would be the key highlights throughout your career that networking has allowed you to develop and progress, let's say?
I think networking, I think, is twofold. Okay. So if you're networking for your job or you're networking for yourself, I think you are your brand. And it's your brand you're putting out there when you're networking. So whether you're on the stage in Australia talking about the ERF or Ireland or what it has done, or you're in the Burlington at the ERF conference here in Ireland, you are doing exactly the same job, but they're two different exposures. And I think from my perspective, putting your brand out there and your company is so I suppose it's a really sensitive thing, and it's something that you have to be really aware of when you're actually doing that. You need to be, I think, clued into who is your audience, what are you trying to deliver, and by networking that way, I think you're more engaged with the message that you're trying to get across. So for your contractors, and I know that was something we discussed earlier, was they need to know the audience that they want to network with. Do their research beforehand. And that gives a whole different experience of networking.
Okay.
If I was to push you for kind of 3 simple tips that anyone could apply to their own kind of, I suppose, networking, character building piece, what would you say? Research is obviously the first one.
I would say, research. Don't go to something that's of no value.
Yeah.
So make sure you do your homework beforehand. If you're looking for a specific role or a career move or an education upskill, pick and research beforehand where you go. So, and then talk to everybody.
Yeah.
Like engage with everybody. If you walk into a room, introduce yourself.
Yeah.
Like nobody ever doesn't say hello.
Yeah.
And we're Irish. Come on, let's face it. So Irish people have a natural way of networking. And it's when they walk into a room to be confident, and introduce yourself to people, shake their hand, smile, whatever. and ask, be inquisitive.
Yeah.
And be there for a purpose. So when you're there for your purpose, make sure that you've ticked the purpose before you leave that room.
Okay.
We can call it quits now, can't we? Like, honestly, that's, I don't know what more you could have delivered there, to be fair, but fair play, Geraldine.
I think an important aspect of that as well is, so a lot of professionals we would work with, they'd be obviously self-employed and they might not be comfortable, let's say, with that networking environment. So is there any skills or like processes you would recommend for them to, let's say, increase their confidence to network?
Practice.
Yeah. Practice makes perfect.
It's like when they say, people that do presentations, people that speak at conferences, you can't just stand up and deliver.
Yeah.
You've got to work on it.
Yeah.
You've got to practice. You've got to get the experience. So if you're an introvert and you know you need to network, the best thing that you could do is pick a couple of your friends or family. Tell them what you're about. Like, if you're going to go into a room and expect to speak to people, you shouldn't be shy in getting your family or your friends on board to do that practice first. Or just use a mirror.
Yeah.
Just use a mirror. Just gain the confidence of walking into a room and shaking somebody's hand and saying, hello, what do you do? Or whatever your purpose is.
I think that's massive as well, is you can't skate around the fact that you can, go without networking skills. You're going to have to build that confidence at some stage.
Well, I think even on, we've moved a lot online now as well. So was it easier when we walked into a room? Probably not. But I think we're humans, I think we need to see people face to face. And it is coming back. But I think it's a sweet spot now. We've got the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
You can network now online. You can join webinars. Most webinars are free.
Yeah.
You can follow up afterwards with people over Zoom or a phone call. So it's easier to speak to people than ever before.
Yeah, in terms of getting in touch with people.
In terms of connecting with people. But connecting and networking is two totally different things. But you can connect with them and then arrange a follow-up, whether it be a Zoom or a face-to-face. It's about expanding your network. And how you do that is how you're comfortable with doing it. But there's nothing like face-to-face speaking to people.
Yeah.
100%. Couldn't agree more.
An organic conversation.
Yeah.
It actually brings us into one of the questions that we kind of set out, to be honest, Geraldine. The COVID-19 obviously brought significant change, especially in the networking space. How has it impacted networking? As a positive or negative? There's probably an element of both, is there?
I think it's both. I do think eventually we need to get back to where we were before COVID. I think we need to do a lot more of the face-to-face. And I think you have to make a conscious decision as a business in how you do that, whether it's out at events or your people back to work. And there's a lot of conversation going on at the moment about a lot of companies trying to get people back to the office. And it's purely because we're losing skills that we had before. And networking would be one of those. Communication is another. So, so it's a bit of both.
Yeah. I'm firmly in office is my preference, 100%.
Yeah.
Even if you're, if there's a day not going 100% according to plan, if you're at home isolated, it's an awful lot harder to kind of pull yourself back out of that, I always feel. Whereas if you've got people around you, there's energy, there's, there's a bit of an atmosphere in the room that can make a big difference.
And I think culture as well, like we'll lose culture.
Definitely.
It's very hard to keep a momentum up online all day.
Yeah.
But when you're in an office, so just to give you an example of the ERF, we work a hybrid model.
Okay.
And I think it suits everybody. But on a Wednesday, everybody that can is in on a Wednesday. We're less productive on a Wednesday. We don't do as much as we would do if we were working any other day, whether it be at home or in the office, purely because it's catch-up day. But it's so important. Yeah. Whether it's everybody having a cup of coffee or a cup of tea or just catching up. But that is so important to maintain that culture, within the team. And anything that would be lost, if it's lost, would be made up for. Yeah. So, I'm a big fan of networking face-to-face and, meeting people face-to-face. There's nothing like it. And then as well, organic conversation flows.
Yes.
Yeah. Sitting beside each other talking.
Yeah.
If you're online or on Zoom, you're on a time.
Yeah.
Everything is set on a time.
Yeah.
But you stop at someone's desk that conversation could lead to the best idea ever for the
Yeah.
business
100%.
just by having a conversation.
Yeah,
you know.
that's not scheduled, that's not
No,
booked in.
no.
It's just literally a passing
Yeah,
conversation.
absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's magic.
And I guess that kind of goes on to the next point, that are we seeing the transition to what it was pre-COVID, or do you think it will get to that stage from networking?
I think we're a bit away.
Yeah.
I still think we're a bit away. And I think a lot of people in the workforce have never worked in an office that came in to work during COVID or just before COVID. So in my view, they don't know what they're missing out on. Okay. But in saying all that, you've got to go with what is best for that person to be back or integrated back into a environment that people are working face to face. So it's a bit of a, it's a bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there are, like you say, there's so many moving parts in that conversation as well. I don't think that a blanket rule is the best approach at all.
And I think it depends on the business. It depends on the job as well. It
Yeah.
depends on the role. It depends on, a lot of companies don't have office space anymore.
Yeah.
So budgets would be a factor there as well. There's a lot. I do think though, even if you work fully remote, there should be meetups
Organised.
regularly.
Yeah.
Regularly.
Yeah.
Whether it be a coffee morning somewhere or, I just to gel that team together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think it's good tips there. Sorry, were you going to go ahead?
Oh, you're
No.
okay.
This is normally the opposite way around. It's normally Shauna can't get a word in edgeways, but I'm trying not to interrupt the flow here. You obviously have so much experience working with all of the different recruitment agencies. Obviously, us being selfish in this scenario, we're going to try and bring it back to the contracting piece. Do you see more and more people trying to get involved in contracting from your perspective, or is it still kind of, I suppose, the usual suspects that you'd expect?
To be very honest, I think it depends on the demand of the sector, demand of the labour market.
Yeah.
I do think there's an increase in contracting, and purely because of COVID.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think that will have a knock-on effect. There's a lot of agencies that do a lot of contracting and have always done that. I don't think that'll change. I think they will just increase their talent pool in that space. But I do think that, especially in Ireland, a lot of agencies are generalists.
Yes.
It's not like in some countries in Europe, you either do permanent or you do contracting or you do contingency.
Yes.
We do everything here. So I think they're very open to working with the client. If the client is looking, if they don't do it at the moment and the client is looking for it, they will either pass it on or explore it themselves. And I think we're very lucky here, that we do have such really, really well-informed recruitment consultants that would be very experienced in the contracting space.
Yeah.
And I know you would know them more than I would, who they are, but I do know, especially when it comes to award time, that the judges tell me when they get the applications in, the amount of work that's done, not just in the contracting space by recruitment consultants, but in contingency and permanent as well.
Yeah.
They're phenomenal people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've a level of patience that I could only ever aspire to have, to be honest, because like you say, so much work can go in for it to be pulled at the last second with counter offers or a variety of different reasons. But the highest level of professionals, in my opinion, in terms of the work they put in.
Absolutely.
But also the patience that they obviously have to get through that journey with each hiring client. It's interesting. We often come across, I suppose, companies that are more predominant permanent employment.
Okay.
And we've seen it over the last number of years where if the right client, if the right opportunity is there, they'll never shy away from the contract side either. They'll try and
and then you've got to factor in the talent shortage that we've got,
Massive.
the skill shortage. So if you can't get somebody in a permanent space, but you can get them on a project or a contract basis, you're not going to turn it away. You are going to look at it, and that's where you will see an increase in some permanent desks will come and do contracting as well, purely because of they can't get somebody permanent to do it.
Yeah.
That's actually a great piece as well, because we have seen a lot of candidates introducing contracting into the conversation as well, like to the recruiters, and then it going and having the desk built that way essentially. So.
As in the demand is going the opposite way. It's the actual professional that's introducing contracting as a suggestion. Yeah. It does happen. It does happen, to be fair. Happens an awful lot now with clients that are hiring directly as well. So, again, whether it's Indeed or LinkedIn or wherever they're advertising the role, But they'll essentially go straight to the candidate, and the candidate will kind of push back on them and say, I don't want to be a full-time hire, I want to be
Yeah.
contract.
And then if the candidate has an entrepreneurial spirit and they want to run their own business as a contractor, they would propose it too. And that's probably what you're seeing,
Yeah.
especially in the professional space.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. It's interesting.
Another major trend, I'll jump in here with this.
Yeah.
AI. Is it a friend or a foe to recruiters?
I think it's both.
Yeah.
I definitely think it's both. I think it's a tool that is absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's scary. It's great. I am so inquisitive about it.
Yeah.
But I think we have to be very cautious in understanding it and using it properly. I think if it's used properly, it will be a huge aid to recruiters. It will be a huge aid in cutting down on administrative work to allow the recruiter to focus on core business.
Yes. Yeah.
In saying that, we have to be very mindful that it is information that is put in by other human beings. And, we've got to make sure that we use it, but check it, edit it, and make sure that it's fit for your purpose.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely.
I think that's very useful as well. We had another
Yeah.
guest on a couple of weeks ago, Geraldine, and very similar to yourself, that by all means it's a tool, but it's not a finished, perfect product that you can, put all of your eggs in that basket either. You do need to be very, very cautious.
And I think it's very easy to spot AI, especially in an application. And I would totally say do not use it for your CV. If you use it, make sure that you edit it. If you have never written a CV before, yes,
Use it as
it'd be a good
inspiration.
enabler.
Yes.
Yeah.
Use
Yeah.
it, but make sure that you actually read it before you send it anywhere. And make sure it's talking about you.
Yeah, I'd say you come across plenty of that now, to be
Yeah.
fair.
So, moving on from AI, what would you think is one of the biggest challenges the recruitment industry are going to face? I'd say 12 months. I have 24 months here, but I think that's...
The way 12 months is going by nowadays,
I'd say skills and housing shortage.
Yeah.
Skill shortage, talent shortage is definitely, I think, the biggest challenge. Like, we're still at full employment
Yeah.
and we still have a lot of jobs. So, and on the positive side, you probably saw the reform of the visas the other day.
Yes,
So
really
that
positive.
will enable a lot more people to come in quicker into
Yeah.
the country. But I still think we'd be very challenged in the skills arena.
I think, like you say, that's one part of the problem. But then where do these people live? Do you know how
Exactly.
we need to make it a lot more
Housing
affordable and
is-
accessible for them?
We need to provide houses as well.
100%.
There isn't enough houses for our own people. And the cost of renting and buying in Ireland. And it's not only
crazy.
Dublin anymore,
No,
it's
it's-
countrywide. So, it's a concern actually for the labour market, I definitely think,
And I would even go one kind of further extension than that. The whole economy. It will.
whole economy.
Yeah, do you
Yeah,
know.
you're right,
And
yeah.
like you say, the labour force is obviously a massive pillar of that whole economy. If it's not actioned upon sooner rather than later, I think we're going to see massive
And I don't
challenges.
think you're going to see it in 12 months. I don't think it's fixable in 12
Yeah.
months. It's a tough one. It's
Yeah.
definitely a tough one.
Like, we've definitely seen a reduction in the amount of people that are relocating to Ireland for contract opportunities.
Really.
Yeah, definitely. Now
I'm
again,
not surprised.
it's
I'm
probably
not surprised.
it's probably two pronged. Don't get me wrong. There probably is a little bit more comfort at the initial point of COVID. Let's say when there was an awful lot of demand as well for that skill shortage that still exists. People were obviously trying to get people to move to Ireland, and again, even then, it was difficult. It was challenging, obviously, but in fairness to the recruitment professionals, they could always deliver upon it. Now, what I'm seeing is that the demand is still there for the skill shortage, obviously, for the talent to come into Ireland. But it's almost like a deal breaker immediately if it requires them to relocate here, because they might be interested upon the first conversation. They'll go off and do some research on Daft, and it's like, no way, I can't.
Yeah.
So again, there's probably a couple of organisations that have become more familiar with, okay, well, we need to get on board with being able to contract with people that are based
Yeah.
in Europe and across the world. But we've definitely seen a reduction in the amount of people coming here, and the only thing I can put that down to is, like you say, the availability and the pricing.
Yeah. The only good side of that is because of COVID, remote working is acceptable
Yeah.
now. So if it's a skill that can be done from anywhere,
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah.
It's just if it's needed to be on site, if it's a skill that's needed on site here in Ireland, then it's not so good.
Yeah. Like a lot of the engineers, let's say.
yeah, 100%, 100%. I was going to touch on something else there, but it's completely escaped me. So I'm going to sit here and try and remember it.
So I think we will move on to the ERF. So what are the primary goals of the ERF in the coming years as well? And how do you plan to drive, let's say, the organisation towards those goals?
Okay, so the main one at the moment is the project we're working on, which is the Masters. We're also working on another project. So one of the gaps that we have here in Ireland is we don't collect real data. Well, we do collect it, but it wasn't something that we had a resource to actually spend a lot of time on. So now part of the ERF will be to provide accurate and on-time data. We are so lucky to have Icon Accounting on board as our sponsor and partner for this project, which will not be a project after we get it in place. It will be ongoing. And that is to give value to members to be able to forecast and plan their businesses. I think it'll also open a lot of doors for us because we will be partnering with a professional research marketing company who are used to doing things like this, and we will be capturing data that we think will be of interest to other stakeholders. We will have data that we never had before. We will have data of all sectors, all regions, geographical, and we'll also have the value of the industry that we work in, and that is so important. So that's another project. Then the everyday hard work by the team will continue. All of the business units will develop and grow. The SkillNet, as you know, is hugely successful. Fair play to Janice O'Rourke. She has built that there. Anna, who is sitting in the room here, you just can't see her, has done an amazing job in our online presence,
Absolutely.
our events, our marketing. So Anna is, again, developing all the time. Her job is evolving. And then we have Lorraine and the rest of the team and Garda vetting and membership. So there's lots of stuff going on. I think the engine of the ERF is well oiled. I think it can only grow. I think our members are the core of everything that we do. And it's what we constantly ask them, what would they like to see, what do they need next? And that's what drives us to develop and grow from there.
Yeah. That constant feedback loop is so refreshing to hear as well, coming from someone in your position, do you know, that you value it so much. It's not a case that you've got your idea and you're going this way. It's all driven by the members in terms of what they're looking for.
Absolutely. It's a membership organisation first and foremost.
Yeah.
So every single event we do, we ask for feedback. Every course we do, we ask, what would you like to see next?
Yeah.
You know, our members would be very used to getting surveys, getting please respond, you know, what would you like to see? And then we are very, very agile and fast to adapt to market conditions.
Yeah.
And I think COVID was an example of that as well. So we had a campaign going immediately COVID hit. We partnered with agencies to keep Ireland working. We got great recognition around the world for that. For such a small federation, you know, to be able to adapt so quickly and put something like that in place. But that's all due to, and down to the team and the board of management that is there. They're forward thinkers. They're all great leaders. But most of all, they all share their expertise, and that's across the board. And I think, like any organisation, if it's a team effort, it'll be hugely successful. Yeah.
100%. 100%. It would be a great time now, I think, to touch on, Geraldine, if there are any recruitment agencies out there that aren't already involved in the ERF, why should they get involved? What are they missing out on? And we know this, but we want you to tell, I suppose, any listeners that may
so
not.
the benefits of being a member of the ERF. So we'll go back to where we started in this conversation, is around networking. There's nothing like networking and learning with your peers, from them and with them.
Yeah.
ERF members have a community that is second to none. We are the envy of the world, how we communicate with each other, how we share information. Even though they work competitively in business, they collaborate, which is hugely important. A member of the ERF also then would get access to, if they have the criteria, to be a fellow, which is really, really prestigious to be a fellow of the ERF. They get to go to events. Most of the events we do are for free. All of our webinars are free. The SkillNet then is obviously reduced fund in training. All of the training we do, if you're a member, is a reduced fee. And then the other, I suppose, benefit would be that you can ask us for any problem that you have, and we will try and solve it from you at head office. We have a network of people that are members with expertise to help other members.
Yeah.
And that's hugely valuable.
Massive to whether it's someone that's starting out on their own in their own kind of agency.
So
and
if you're
business.
starting out on your own, we have what's called the Recruitment Owners Network. We shorten that, we call it RON.
Okay.
Okay, so that's a group of people. It's headed up by Denise Brady, and Donal O'Donoghue, who is also one of the chairs of that group. They meet twice a quarter.
Okay.
They choose their own agenda for
Okay.
the meeting. So there's about 20 members. They're mainly all in the small to medium
Yeah.
arena. We provide experts. They decide every month what they would like to see as a guest speaker or a topic or that they need support on. And we provide that from the ERF. So that's a huge benefit to somebody, especially a green shoot.
Yeah.
starting
Absolutely.
out. Yeah.
Yeah.
And everyone who's a member of the ERF in the SME space is welcome to join that.
Brilliant. So make sure to reach out and get in touch if you're not already.
Absolutely.
Get on board with Ron. And again, for me, everything that you've said there, don't get me wrong, they're all massive benefits. But it's the personal approach in terms of the support and assistance, the guidance,
Totally.
the expertise, like that is invaluable to someone that's starting out in any, path of, I suppose,
Totally.
self-employment.
Totally.
But like you say, it's really refreshing to see. And again, again with COVID, I probably haven't been to as many events as I would have liked to have been. But what I seen in April in the Clayton was phenomenal in terms of, like you say, competitors sitting at the same table but having a great time collaborating, communicating. And actually, it was something that was what escaped me a couple of minutes ago in terms of that collaboration piece. Do you think there could be more work done in terms of the skill shortage, the collaboration between employers, whether it's the large multinationals here, and the education board in terms of what skills need to start being added to the curriculum so we can start working on that skill shortage gap?
Totally. I think I'm going to start with a selfish point of view. If you're an employer out there and you don't already have an apprentice, recruiter apprentice in place at the moment, you're totally missing out.
Yeah.
That is a skill. When you have a recruitment executive qualified through that degree, they will be the game changer of finding other skill sets in the future. I think there is a really good relationship between the Board of Education, the Department of Education, and our sector. How do we address skills that take a long time to develop?
Yeah.
Because they're gone out of date most of the time.
And they change so quickly.
They change so quickly. So I think it's a really hard one. And I'm a fan now of apprenticeships.
Yeah.
Only since we went on this journey. I would be very honest and say I was the mother that you had to go to college. You had to do your degree full time. Absolutely not. Apprenticeships in this country are so well run. They are game changers. And the client is getting the added benefit of already you've got somebody doing it. On the first day, they're doing a bit of that job.
Yeah.
So the skill that you're short of is addressed from day one. Okay, it might be small to start with, but as the apprentice grows, and remember, you're actually developing them to your culture.
Yeah.
They will be embedded in your organisation. Loyalty has been proven
100%.
from apprenticeships surveys that apprentices that train in a company are more likely to stay than if they didn't train in that company. So I think apprenticeships would be should be a huge factor in that space for the future.
I think that's really refreshing.
Yeah.
Really refreshing. I've always, again, I came from a mammy that was very much college. But now, even looking at my own kids, I'm like, I wouldn't necessarily say that that's, a guarantee or it's correct for everyone. I personally feel like I learned an awful lot more when I graduated college and went into my first professional job. So, I'm on board for that.
And apprenticeships are now part of CAO.
Yeah.
Which is a game changer as well. So, it's a recognised career path,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And earn as you learn.
Absolutely. There's a lot of benefits.
Yes.
I think a closing question for me would be, what's the most valuable lesson you've learned about networking that you think every professional should know?
Oh, that's a tough one. I think to always be you.
Yeah.
Don't try to be something that you're not. So if you're, and again, it goes back to be your own brand. Know exactly what you're looking for from the network that you're going to do. Know exactly what you're looking for from the networking that you're going to do. And yeah, just be kind and be nice to people. And I think people will be kind and nice back.
Yeah. I think you touched on something earlier as well, that, you know, as part of Irish culture, we are a friendly crowd. You know, when you walk into a room, I think you need to kind of, you know, just dive in at times and put yourself out there a little bit. Even if you do feel a little uncomfortable, no one's going to let you fall flat on your face.
No, they're not. And like for anybody who is nervous about networking, there's lots of, so before COVID, there was a lot of networking events being done, as in how to network.
Yeah.
You can Google that now.
Yes.
You can get tips on how to walk into a room, especially if you're really shy.
Yeah.
You know, and how go into open groups. Like,
Yeah.
you know, there's even graphics online of
Yeah.
what does an open group look like? What does a closed group look like? How to exit a group that you
Yes.
don't want to be in.
Yeah.
So all of these tips are there. So
Yeah.
I would say, you know, Google your friend before
Absolutely.
you go in.
Absolutely. I also think that there's probably a little bit of pressure, and we know this from speaking to our own clients as well, that when people walk into a room and it might be their first experience in networking, they almost put the pressure on themselves that they have to be an expert by the time they come out of the room. It's like, no, bit by bit, you know.
Yeah.
If you're consistent enough and if you're determined enough to continue attending the events, within 4 or 5 you will feel much more natural than what you did obviously
Totally.
the first
And
time.
don't try to work the whole room on the first time. You know, like go in, maybe talk to 1 or 2 people, 1 or 2
Absolutely.
groups.
Small wins.
And then the next time you go in, you might do a little bit more, you'll feel a little bit more comfortable. And like everything, it takes practice.
100%. 100%. Just before you move on to our contractor dilemma, one thing that I have noticed with yourself, Geraldine, and again, just to touch on the fact that Icon Accounting are very grateful and delighted to be involved in that
We're
project.
thrilled to have you.
But what I was going to say to you is what I've noticed about yourself, and I'm wondering if I'm correct in this assumption that I've made. You pick up the phone an awful lot more than you send an email.
Yes.
It's so much more effective, though.
Maybe because I'm old, but
Absolutely
I
not.
think there's nothing like talking to people.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, you can send an email, you may get a response immediately.
Yeah.
You may get a response tomorrow.
Yeah.
Picking up the phone, you can leave
Instant.
a message if somebody doesn't
Yeah.
answer you straight away. It's
Yeah.
instant. And there's nothing like, again, that conversation.
Yeah. No, I think it's really valuable. It's something that I've noticed, and the reason it stands out so much to me is because it's so rare nowadays. It is. It's genuinely so rare.
Well, I have to say, it's a culture that we have in the office. Like, if you walk in, everybody's on the phone.
Yeah.
You know, and it works. It definitely works. You know, I think if you balance it out, like you have to have the emails, you have to have, like we are on every social media platform ourselves, you know, so, but there's nothing like, if you have a balance of social media, if you have a balance of WhatsApp, texting, whatever it is, email, but also don't forget to use the phone.
Yeah. To me, it can just accelerate something way faster than, like you say, an email. You can make a decision on a phone call. You can't make a decision on an
But it
email.
also builds a relationship.
100%.
I mean, the decision is one thing, but I think people, whatever you're in, people buy from people.
Absolutely.
People engage with people. And you can't build a relationship on email
100%.
or WhatsApp. You know, you build it by conversing with people directly,
Yeah.
whether it's face to face or on the phone.
Couldn't agree more. You did mention something briefly. Sorry, I am going to hand over to the final question, but you mentioned something there about the social channels. Is that where people should reach out and get in touch if they have queries for the ERF, or is it the website, or what's the idea?
Well, it can be anyway. If you go onto our website, which is www.erfireland.com, all of the information is there. If you want to send an email, send it to info@erfireland.com, and Anna will pick it up. And if it's not for Anna, she will distribute it to the person in the office that it's for.
Brilliant.
So you can contact us through Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook. We're on
Anywhere.
Instagram. We're on them all.
Anywhere.
I think we're even on TikTok now. So,
Brilliant.
yes.
Brilliant. Are you producing content?
All credit to Anna.
Okay,
All
I'm
credit
going to
to
have to
Anna.
check that out. I'm going to have to check that out. Right, I'm going to hand you back to Shauna now. So this is typically how we close every podcast.
Okay.
It's a dilemma.
Question. Yeah. So basically, a question from a client. So
Okay.
we've actually pulled this one from our latest LinkedIn competition because it was a topic around networking. So if a contractor was to uptake one area, or let's say a task of networking to secure their future work, what would that be? Would it be social networking or perhaps events?
I would say events, because you can meet people face
Yeah.
to face. Like, I mean, if it's an event that the contractor knows the target audience that they want is there, or the individual or company that they want to speak to is there, definitely go. And
Yeah.
it goes back to go up and introduce yourself.
Yeah.
People are not going to be rude and turn you away. They may follow up with you, they may not have the time to speak, but I would always personally be a fan of going to meet people
Events.
face to face.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think as well, like the social aspect of it can follow afterwards. Essentially, like the networking on, let's say, LinkedIn. I think that's
Absolutely.
the follow up.
It's the follow up.
Yeah,
the follow up,
Yeah.
definitely. Yes.
Excellent. Excellent. So again, we want to thank you very much, Geraldine, for taking the time
My
out.
pleasure.
It's been an absolute pleasure to get you on to the Iconic Insights podcast. Thank you very much. Thank you as well to all the team, obviously in the background of the ERF, for all the incredible work
Thank
that you
you,
do.
Anna.
Yes.
Particularly Anna.
Yeah.
But no, honestly, like every engagement that we've had from a company to the ERF has been like top class, absolutely top class.
Good to hear.
So I couldn't recommend it, and I have, and we will continue to recommend. If we,
Thank
you
you.
know, hear from any recruitment agencies that aren't involved, one of the very first things that we say is you need to get involved, and they should as soon as possible. But the other thing we want to do is thank all of our viewers for taking the time out, hopefully for listening, and also to the team at Factory 44, who are always a pleasure to work with as well. So we look forward to catching up again soon.